Welcome to the 1000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 941st night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the baker said to the fisherman, Take whatso thou needest, and I will have patience with thee, till better luck betide thee, after the which thou shalt bring me fish for all thou owest me. Said the fisherman, Almighty Allah reward thee and requite thee for all thy good to me. Then he took the bread and the coins and went away glad at heart, and buying what he could, returned to his wife, whom he found sitting up, soothing the children, who were weeping for hunger, and saying to them, At once your father will be here with what ye may eat. So he set the bread before them, and they ate, whilst he told his wife what had befallen him, and she said, Allah is bountiful. On the morrow he shouldered his net, and went forth of his house, saying, I beseech thee, O Lord, to vouchsafe me this day that which shall whiten my face with the baker. When he came to the seashore, he proceeded to cast his net and pull it in, but there came up no fish therein, and he ceased not to toil thus till ended day, but he caught nothing. Then he set out homewards in great concern, and the way to his house lay past the baker's oven. So he said to himself, How shall I go home? But I will hasten my pace, that the baker may not see me. When he reached the shop, he saw a crowd about it, and walked the faster, being ashamed to face his creditor. But the baker raised his eyes to him, and cried out to him, Ho, Fisherman! Come and take thy bread, and spending money. Meseems thou forgettest. Quoth Abdullah, By Allah, I had not forgotten, but I was ashamed to face thee, because I have caught no fish this day. And quoth the baker, Be not ashamed, said I not to thee, at thy leisure, till better luck betide thee. Then he gave him the bread and the 10 nuffs, and he returned and told his wife, who said, Allah is bountiful. Better luck shall yet betide thee, and thou shalt give the baker his due, inshallah. He ceased not doing on this wise 40 days, betaking himself daily to the sea from the rising of the sun to the going down thereof, and returning home without fish. And still he took bread and spending money of the baker, who never once named the fish to him, nor neglected him, nor kept him waiting like the folk, but gave him the bread and the 10 half-dirhams without delay. Whenever the fisherman said to him, O my brother, reckon with me, he would say, Be off, this is no time for reckoning. Wait till better luck betide thee, and then I will reckon with thee. And the fisherman would bless him, and go away thanking him. On the 41st day he said to his wife, I have a mind to tear up the net and quit of this life. She asked, Why wilt thou do this? And he answered, Meseems there is an end of my getting my daily bread from the water. How long shall this last? By Erna, by Allah, I burn with shame before the baker, and I will go no more to the sea, so I may not pass by his ovens, for I have none other way home, and every time I pass he calleth to me, and giveth me bread and 10 silvers. How much longer shall I run in debt to him? The wife replied, Alhamdulillah, lauded be the Lord, the Most High, who hath inclined his heart to thee, so that he giveth thee our daily bread. What dislikest thou in this? And the husband rejoined, I hold him now a mighty great sum of dirhams, and there is no doubt but that he will demand his due. Has he vexed thee with words? No. On the contrary, he still refuses to reckon with me, saying, Wait till better luck betide thee. If he press thee, say to him, Wait till there come the good luck for which we hope, thou and I. And when will the good luck come that we hope for? Allah is bountiful. Sooth thou speakest. So saying, he shouldered his net, and went down to the sea, praying, O Lord, provide thou me though but 1 fish, that I may give it to the baker. And he cast his net into the sea, and pulling it in, found it heavy. And he tugged at it till he was tired with sore travail. But when he got it ashore, he found it a dead donkey, swollen and stinking. Whereat his senses sickened, and he freed it from the net, saying, There is no majesty, and there is no might, save in all of the glorious, the great. Indeed, I can no more. I say that, wife of mine, there is no more provisions for me in the waters. Let me leave this craft. And still she answereth me, Allah is bountiful, good with princely. Betide thyself. In this dead ass the good wherewithal she speaketh, and he grieved with the sorest grief. Then he turned to another place, so he might remove from the stench of the dead donkey, and cast his net there, and waited a full hour. Then he drew it in and found it heavy. Thereupon quoth he, Good, we are hauling up all the dead donkeys in the sea and riding it with rubbish. However, he gave not over tugging at the net till blood came from the palms of his hands, and when he got it ashore, he saw a man. And he took it for one of the ifrits of the Lord Solomon, whom he was wont to imprison in kirkabits of brass, and cast him into the main, believing that the vessel had burst for lengths of years, and that the ifrit had come forth and fallen into the net. Wherefore he fled from him, crying out and saying, Mercy, mercy, O ifrit of Solomon. But the Adamite called out to him from within the net, and said, Come hither, O fisherman, and flee not from me, for I am human like thyself. Release me, so thou mayest get a recompense from me, by Allah. When as he heard these words, the fisherman took heart, and coming up to him, said to him, Art thou not an ifrit of the jinn? And replied the other, No, I am a mortal, and a believer in Allah and his apostles. Asked the fisherman, Who threw thee into the sea? And the other answered, I am of the children of the sea, and was going about therein when thou castest the net over me. We are people who obey Allah's commandments, and show loving kindness unto the creatures of the Almighty, but I fear and dread to be of the disobedient. I had torn thy net, but I accept that which the Lord hath decreed upon me. Wherefore by setting me free thou becomest my owner, and I thy captive. Wilt thou then set me free for the love of Almighty Allah, and make a covenant with me, and become my comrade? I will come to thee every day in this place, and do thou come to me and bring me a gift of the fruits of the land, for which are grapes and figs and watermelons and peaches and pomegranates, so forth, and all thou bringest me will be acceptable unto me. Moreover, with us are corals and pearls and chrysolites and emeralds and rubies and other gems. And I will fill thee the basket wherein thou bringest me the fruit, with precious stones of the jewels of the sea. What sayest thou to this, O my brother? Quoth the fisherman, Be the opening chapter of the Koran, quoth thee and me upon this. So they recited together the Fatiha, and the fisherman loosed the merman from the net and asked him, What is thy name? He replied, My name is Abdullah of the sea, and if thou come hither and see me not, call out and say, Where art thou, O Abdullah, O merman, and I will be with thee. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 942nd night, she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Abdullah of the sea thus enjoined the other, And thou come hither and see me not, and call out and say, Where art thou, O Abdullah, O merman, and I will come forth to thee. But thou, what is thy name? Quoth the fisherman, My name is Abdullah. And quoth the other, Thou art Abdullah of the land, and I am Abdullah of the sea. But tarry here till I go and fetch thee a present. And the fisherman repented him of having released him, and said to himself, How know that he will come back to me? Indeed, he beguiled me so that I loosed him, and now he will laugh at me. Had I kept him, I might have made a show of him for the diversion of the city folk, and taken silver from all men, and gone with him to the houses of the great. And he repented him of having set him free, and said, Thou hast let thy prey from thy hand. But as he was thus bemoaning his folly in releasing the prisoner, behold, Abdullah the merman returned to him, and both hands full of pearls and coral and smaragds and rubies and other gems, and said to him, Take these, O my brother, and excuse me. Had I a fish basket, I would have filled it for thee. Abdullah the fisherman rejoiced, and took the jewels from the merman, who said to him, Every day come hither before sunrise. And farewelling him, went down into the sea, whilst the other returned to the city, rejoicing, and stayed not walking, till he came to the baker's oven, and said to him, O my brother, good luck has come to us at last, so do thou reckon with me. Answered the baker, There needeth no reckoning, and thou have aught, give it to me, and if thou have not, take thy bread and spending money, and be gone against weal betide thee. Rejoined the fisherman, O my friend, indeed weal hath betided me of Allah's bounty, and I owe thee much money, but take this. So saying, he took for him a handful of the pearls and corals and rubies and other jewels he had with him, the handful being about half of the whole, and gave them to the baker, and said, Give me some ready money to spend this day till I sell these jewels. So the baker gave him all the money he had in hand, and all the bread in his basket, and rejoiced in the jewels, saying, I am thy slave and thy servant. Then he set all the bread on his head, and following the fisherman home, gave it to his wife and children, after which he repaired to the market, and brought meat and greens and all manner of fruit. Moreover, he left his oven and abode with Abdullah all that day, busying himself in his service, and fulfilling all his affairs. Said the fisherman, O my brother, thou weariest thyself. And the baker replied, This is my duty, for I am become thy servant, and thou hast overwhelmed me with thy boon. Rejoined the fisherman, 'Tis thou who wast my benefactor in the days of dearth and distress. And the baker passed that night with him, enjoying good cheer, and becoming a faithful friend to him. Then the fisherman told his wife what had befallen him with the merman, whereat she rejoiced and said, Keep thy secret, lest the government come down upon thee. But he said, Though I keep my secret from all men, yet will I not hide it from the baker. On the morrow he rose betimes, and shouldering a basket, which he had filled in the evening with all manner of fruit, repaired before sunrise to the seashore, and setting down the crate on the water edge, called out, Where art thou, O Abdullah, O merman? He answered, Here am I at thy service, and came forth to him. The fisherman gave him the fruit, and he took it, and plunging into the sea with it, was absent a full hour, after which time he came up with the fish basket full of all kinds of gems and jewels. The fisherman set it on his head and went away. And when he came to the oven, the baker said to him, O my lord, I have baked thee 40 buns, and have sent them to thy house. And now I will bake some first. As soon as all is done, I will bring it to the house, and go and fetch thee greens and meats. Abdullah handed to him 3 handfuls of jewels out of the fish basket, and going home, set it down there. Then he took a gem of price of each of sort, and going to the jewel bazaar, stopped at the syndicate's shop, and said to him, Buy these precious stones of me. Show them to me, said the sheikh. So he showed them to him, and the jeweler said, Hast thou aught besides these? Abdullah replied, I have a basketful at home. The syndicate asked, And where is thine house? And the fisherman answered, In such a quarter. Whereupon the sheikh took the jewels from him, and said to his followers, Lay hold of him, for he is the thief who stole the jewelry of the queen, the wife of our sultan. And he bade beat him. So they bastioned him, and pinioned him, after which the syndicate and all the people of the jewel market arose, and set out for the palace, saying, We have caught the thief. Quoth one, None robbed such an one but this villain. And quoth another, 'Twas none but he stole all that was in such an one's house. And some said this, and others said that. All this while he was silent, and spake not a word, nor returned a reply, till they brought him before the king, to whom said the syndicate, O king of the age, when the king's necklace was stolen, thou sentest us to acquaint us with the theft, requiring of us the discovery of the culprit. Wherefore I strove beyond the rest of the folk, and have taken the thief for thee. Here he standeth before thee, and these be the jewels we have recovered from him. Thereupon the king said to the chief eunuch, Carry those jewels for the queen to see, and say to her, Are these thy property thou hast lost? So the eunuch took the jewels, and went in with them to the queen, who, seeing their lustre, marveled at them, and sent to the king to say, I have found my necklace in my own place, and these jewels are not my property. Nay, they are finer than any in my necklace. So oppress not this man. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 943rd night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the king's wife went into the king to say, These are not my property, nay, these gems are finer than those of my necklace, so oppress not this man, but if he will sell them, buy them for the daughter of al-Suad, that we may set them in a necklace for her. When the eunuch returned and told the king what the queen had said, he damned the syndicate of the jewelers and his company with that damnation of Ad and Thamud. And they said to him, O king of the age, we knew this man for a poor fisherman, and deemed such things too much for him. So we supposed that he had stolen them. Cried the king, O you filthy villains, begrudge ye a true believer good fortune? Why did ye not make due inquiry of him? Haply Allah Almighty have vouchsafed him these things from a source whereupon he reckoned not. Why did ye make him out a thief, and disgrace him amongst the folk? Begone, and may Allah never bless you. So they went out affrighted, and the king said to Abdullah, O man, Allah bless thee in all that thou hast bestowed on thee. No harm shall befall thee. But tell me truly, whence gottest these jewels? For I am a king, yet have I not the like of these. The fisherman replied, O king of the age, I have a fish basket full of them at home, and the case is thus and thus. Then he told him of his friendship with the merman, adding, We have made a covenant together that I shall bring him every day a basket full of fruit, and he shall bring me the basket of jewels. Quoth the king, O man, this is thy lucky lot, but wealth needeth rank. I will defend thee for the present against men's domineering, but haply I shall be deposed or die, and another rule in my stead, and he shall slay thee because of his love of the goods of this world and his covetousness. So I am minded to marry thee to my daughter, and make thee my wazir, and bequeath thee the kingdom after me, so none may hanker for thy riches, which I am gone. Then he said, Hie with this man to the Hammam. So they bore him to the baths, and bathed his body, and robed him in royal raiment, after which they brought him back to the king, and he made him his wazir, and sent to his house couriers, the soldiers of his guards, and all the wives of the notables, who clad his wife and children in kingly costume, and mounting the woman in a horse litter, with the little child in her lap, walked before her to the palace, escorted by the troops and couriers and officers. They also brought her elder children into the king, who made much of them, taking them in his lap and seating them by his side, for they were 9 children, male, and the king had no son and heir, nor had he been blessed with any child, save this one daughter, al-Su'ad hight. Meanwhile, the queen entreated Abdullah's wife with honor, and bestowed favors on her, and made her a waziress to him. Then the king bade draw up the marriage contract between his daughter and Abdullah of the land, who assigned to her as her dower all the gems and precious stones in his possession, and they opened the gates of the festival. The king commanded by proclamation to decorate the city in honor of his daughter's wedding. Then Abdullah went in unto the princess and abated her maidenhead. Next morning the king looked out of the lattice and saw Abdullah carrying on his head a fish crate full of fruit. So he called to him, What hast thou there, O my son-in-law, and whither wentest thou? The fisherman replied, To my friend, Abdullah the merman. And the king said, O my son-in-law, this is no time to go to thy comrade. Indeed, I fear to break tryst with him, lest he reckon me a liar, and say the things of the world have diverted thee from him. And quoth the king, Thou speakest sooth. Go to thy friend, and God help thee. So he walked through the city on his way to his companion, and as he heard the folk who knew him say, There goes the king's son-in-law to exchange fruit for gems, whilst those knew him not said, Ho, fellow, how much a pound? Come sell to me. And he answered, saying, Wait till I come back to thee, for that he would not hurt the feelings of any man. Then he fared on till he came to the seashore, and foregathered with his friend Abdullah the merman, to whom he delivered the fruit, receiving gems in return. He ceased not doing thus till one day, as he passed by the baker's oven, he found it closed, and so he did 10 days, during which time the oven remained shut, and he saw nothing of the baker. So he said to himself, This is a strange thing. Would I wot whither the baker went? Then he inquired of his neighbor, saying, O my brother, where is thy neighbor the baker? Of what hath Allah done with him? And the other responded, O my lord, he is sick, and cometh not forth out of his house. O my lord, where is his house? Asked Abdullah, and the other answered, In such a quarter. So he fared thither and inquired of him, but when he knocked at the door, the baker looked out of the window, and seeing his friend the fisherman, full basket on head, came down and opened the door to him. Abdullah entered, and throwing himself on the baker, embraced him and wept. How dost thou, O my friend? Every day I pass by thine oven, and I see it not opened. So I asked thy neighbor, who told me that thou wast sick. Therefore I inquired for thy house, that I might see thee. Answered the baker, Allah requite thee for me with all good. Nothing aileth me, but it reached me that the king had taken thee, for that certain of the folk had lied against thee, and accused thee of being a robber. Wherefore I feared, and I shut the shop and hid myself. True, said Abdullah, and told him all that had befallen him with the king and the sheikh of the jeweller's bazaar, adding, Moreover, the king hath given me his daughter to wife, and made me his wazir. And after a pause, So do thou take what is in this fish basket to thy share, and fear not. Then he left him, after having done away from him his affright, and returned with the empty crate to the king, who said to him, O my son-in-law, 'twould seem thou hast not foregathered with thy friend the merman today. Replied Abdullah, I went to him, but that which he gave me I gave to my gossip the baker, to whom I owe kindness. Who may be the baker? Asked the king, and the fisherman answered, He is a benevolent man, who did me thus and thus in the days of my poverty, and never neglected me a single day, nor hurt my feelings. Quoth the king, What is his name? And quoth the fisherman, His name is Abdullah the baker, and my name is Abdullah of the land, and that my friend the merman is Abdullah of the sea. Rejoined the king, And my name also is Abdullah, and the servants of Allah are all brethren. So send and fetch thy friend the baker, that I may make him my wazir of the left. So he sent for the baker, who speedily came to the presence of the king, and vested him wazirial uniform, and made him wazir of the left, making Abdullah of the land his wazir of the right. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 944th night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the king made his son-in-law Abdullah of the land wazir of the right, and Abdullah the baker the wazir of the left. In such condition the fisherman abode a whole year, every day carrying for the merman the crate full of fruit, and receiving it back full of jewels. And when the fruit failed from the gardens, he carried him raisins and almonds and filberts and walnuts and figs and so forth, and all that he brought for him the merman accepted, and returned to the fish basket full of jewels, according to his custom. Now it chanced one day that he carried him the crate full of dried fruits, as was his wont, and his friend took them from him. Then they sat down to converse. Abdullah the fisherman on the beach, and Abdullah the merman in the water near the shore, and discoursed, and the talk went round about them till it fell upon the subject of sepulchres, whereat quoth the merman, O my brother, they say that the prophet, whom Allah assain and save, is buried with you on the land. Knowest thou his tomb? Abdullah replied, Yes, it lieth in the city called Yathrib. Asked the merman, And do the people of the land visit it? Yes, answered the fisherman. And then they said, I give you joy, O people of the land, of visiting that noble prophet and compassionate, who so visiteth meriteth his intercession. Hast thou made such visitation, O my brother? Replied the fisherman, No. I was poor, and had not the necessary sum to spend by the way, nor have I been in easy case, but since I knew thee, and thou bestowest on me this good fortune, but such visitation behoveth me, that I have pilgrimed to the holy house of Allah, and not withheld me therefrom but my love to thee, because I cannot leave thee for one day. Rejoined the merman, And dost thou set the love of me before the visitation of the tomb of Mohammed, whom Allah assain and save? Who shall intercede for thee on the day of review before Allah, and shall save thee from the fire, and through whose intercession thou shalt enter paradise? And dost thou for the love of the world neglect to visit the tomb of thy prophet Mohammed, whom God bless and preserve? Replied Abdullah, No, by Allah, I set the visitation of the prophet's tomb above all else, and I crave thy leave to pray before it this year. The merman rejoined, I grant thee leave, on condition that when you shalt stand by his sepulchre, thou shalt salute him from me with the salam. Furthermore, I have a trust to give thee, so come thou with me into the sea, that I may carry thee to my city, and entertain thee in my house, and give thee a deposit, which when thou takest thy station by the prophet's tomb, do thou lay thereon, saying, O apostle of Allah, Abdullah the merman saluteth thee, and sendeth thee this present, imploring thine intercession to save him from the fire. Said the fisherman, O my brother, thou wast created in the water, and water is thy abiding place, and doth thee no hurt. But if thou shouldest come forth to the land, would any harm betide thee? The merman replied, Yes, my body would dry up, and the breeze of the land would blow upon me, and I should die. Rejoined the fisherman, And I, in like manner, was created on the land, and the land is my abiding place. Then and I went down into the sea, the water it would enter my body and choke me, and I should die. Retorted the other, Have no fear for that, for I will bring thee an anointment, wherewith when thou hast anointed thy body, the water will do thee no harm, though thou shouldest pass the length of thy life going about in the great deep, and thou shalt lie down and rise up in the sea, and naught shall harm thee. Quoth the fisherman, And the case be thus, well and good, but bring me the ointment, so that I may make trial of it. And quoth the merman, So be it. And then taking the fish basket, disappeared into the depths. He was absent a while, and presently returned with an unguent, as it were the fat of beef, yellow as gold, and sweet of savour. Asked the fisherman, What is this, O my brother? And answered the merman, 'Tis the liver fat of a kind of fish called the dandan, which is the biggest of all fish, and the fiercest of our foes. His bulk is great. It's much bigger than any beast on the land, and were he to meet a camel or an elephant, he would swallow it in a single mouthful. Abdullah inquired, O my brother, what doth this baleful beast? And the merman replied, He eateth of the beasts of the sea. Hast thou not heard the saying, Like the fishes of the sea, forcible eateth feeble? True. But have you met any of these dandans in the sea? Yes, there be many of them with us. None can tell their tale, save Allah Almighty. Verily, I fear lest if I go down with thee into the deep, a creature of this kind fall in with me and devour me. Have no fear. When he seeth thee, he will know thee for a son of Adam, and will fear thee and flee. He dreadeth none of the sea as he dreadeth a son of Adam. For that, and he eateth a man, he dieth forright, because human fat is a deadly poison to this kind of creature. Nor do we collect its liver speck save by means of a man, when he falleth into the sea and is drowned, for that his semblance becometh changed, and ofttimes his flesh is torn. So the dandan eateth him, deeming him the same of the denzians of the deep, and dieth. Then we light upon our enemy dead, and take the speck of his liver, and grease ourselves, so that we may overwander the main in safety. Also wherewithal there is a son of Adam, though be in that place 100 or 200 or 1,000 or more of these beasts, all die forthright, and they but hear him. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale for today, till it be morrow.